Dimitri. It's really nice to meet you.
Hi,
Congratulations on the
Manny.
film.
Oh, thank you so much. Nice to meet you too.
So let's start. Tell us a little bit about the film and your vision.
Well, again, for me, I got this script from Gary Scott Thompson, and I read it a few years ago, and I just thought it really had heart. And so the character himself was flawed, but he loved his children, and he had to go retrieve them, and he did it in a completely unique way. So I just lived to the page, and I wanted it to be big, and I wanted it to look, as an independent filmmaker, we don't always have the advantages of a major motion picture. So I really try my best to deliver to the audience a no excuse action film.
And part of that is going to be to have an anchor and in the lead, and you do with Luke Hemsworth. I was just talking with him about his layered character. The flaws that you're talking about. Tell me a little bit about working with him and what made him a great lead.
Well, it was great because he is very much character driven. And we had some dinners, we had some discussions on set and just before when he was preparing and rehearsing. And I said to him, I said, he was really fighting within about trying to figure out how much he can reveal to his kids, how much he didn't want to reveal about all the things that had happened to him, which I think a lot of veterans have a problem with. They don't necessarily want to burden their family with what they went through. And so he keeps all that to himself. So I think he pulled it off magnificently, don't you?
Yeah, and so one of the things that really stood out to me was that what you're saying. It's like we knew something more was happening with him. Something he had gone through something, but he didn't want to reveal it. I myself am a dad and I don't want to burden my kids with it. But there's something in his eye or something whenever you can tell he was holding back. And I think that's what I really liked about Luke's performance. Also the action, of course. But you can tell as a father, I was like, he's holding back some information. And we learn through the movie why maybe that wasn't a great idea, but we understand, correct?
Listen, I'm a dad too, and yeah, your job as a dad is to protect your family, and that means sometimes you carry a burden, just an inner burden of what you want to share and what you don't want to share, and that's what it takes to be a man, I think.
I 100% agree. There was moments when my daughter was younger where we were going through some hardships. She probably will never know about them,
That's
but
and
in
she
her,
shouldn't. It doesn't matter. So
yeah, it really does it, and I agree, and that's really where I think the core of the story is because we do the same thing over with Dobbs and his dad. They have a very distinct relationship. Can you talk a little bit about them?
yeah, that's the one wonderful parallel, isn't it? You've got two sons. One of them is an older son, and both of them are trying in their own way to get attention and get approval. And the little kid, boy, isn't he just great? Grant is just a terrific little actor. So's Connor, but Grant, boy, he just, Luke would tell me, he said, "You put me on screen with a little kid, didn't you?" And I said, "Yes, I did." So yeah, I think they've got a wonderful performance. And the juxtaposition between the Morgan Freeman character and the Luke Hemsworth character is great too.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention that. I want to talk too much about it too because we want everyone to enjoy the film. But that exposition between both of the two, in a scene in particular where they're almost like giving each other fatherly advice in a way, I thought was really important for the film.
Yeah.
So, we don't really have, all the character moments and everything are great, but this at the end of the day is an action film also. You had a lot of practical effects, a lot of big explosions. Tell me about how you go about that as an independent filmmaker.
Well, again, I don't ever use guns, real live guns. So everything you see with regard to the gun action is really visual effects. I think I've been doing that for years just because I think that guns are dangerous. But now the explosions, on the other hand, they're real. And so we did have a lot of that. And you just have to be very careful. You have professionals in front of that. You have stunt people, and you take all the safety precautions you can, but you still need to deliver an entertainment to the audience. So
And a lot of times when you're talking with independent filmmakers, it's the crew you surround yourself around that make it all possible. And part of that is your stunt team, because talking with Luke, he told me there wasn't too much time necessarily to rehearse, but you had the right people for it. Tell me a little bit about the stunt team and some of the things you guys did to
So
make it
this
work.
is the stunt team that I developed in Thailand when I rebooted the Kickboxer franchise. Um, they're Thai. They do Muay Thai, so it's a unique form of martial arts. And I've been working with them ever since on every single film I've made. And so they know me really well. The stunt coordinator is terrific. And we start about a month and a half to 2 months before. He reads the script, we break it down together. He starts rehearsing over in Thailand and he sends me videos that he cuts together of the action sequences. And then we modify those and we refine them. And so, just like a good dance, when we walk on set and I start to share that with the actors beforehand, they know exactly what we're going to do. So I
Mm.
think that's important. And that also helps with safety.
So really good planning. That's really good to know. I'm really curious because as of late, I've had a lot of conversations with filmmakers and actors that they're in projects where they're bringing back classic martial arts film, or they're bringing back that classic action film. Do you think that? Why do you think there's such a desire right now for that kind of film, like a Gunner?
Well, I think, look, making, you know, superhero movies and having a ton of visual effects and all that kind of stuff is great. But I think at the end of the day, I think all of us are looking for heroes deep down inside of at any age. We'd like to see people be able to do and characters be able to do the kind of things that we wish we could do. And if I can give you that for about an hour and a half or so and let you forget about your day, but when somebody does something wrong, you go figure it out. And our leading character goes and figures it out, and he doesn't have a spaceship and he doesn't have a laser. And so at the end of the day, like Roadhouse, I've always liked that kind of hero and that kind of anti-hero.
Yeah, really gritty and really relatable. I
Right,
think that's what we're looking at.
right.
Um, what were some of the challenges in making the film? I always like to conversate and find out from filmmakers, especially on a particular budget, what was the toughest part for you?
Well, thank you, Manny, first of all, for supporting independent filmmakers. The toughest thing is you just don't have the kind of schedule.
Mhm.
I come from television, and so I know how to work a schedule really well. And again, I rehearse and I also create the action sequences way in advance. But we just don't have the schedule, and that's the biggest challenge. You'd love to be able to make a picture over the course of 2, 3, or 4 months, but we just don't have that kind of schedule. And so you really have to be very selective and you have to do an awful lot of surgery to the scenes and to the script way before you ever show up on set. So I think time is probably the biggest challenge.
Yeah, no, I always love supporting independent filmmakers because of that, because the love for the film, the love for the project they're working on, all usually supersedes all of these things that they have to go through. Like we had a week to shoot, but we got cut down to three. Or we were supposed to get this, but ended up having to go to Goodwill to get props. And to know, the passion that you guys have for these things, it means a lot
Life's
to
not
me.
fair, Manny. Life's not fair. You got to figure it out. So there's no, what's the famous line? There's no crying in baseball. I mean, come on. There's no crying in filmmaking. Let's go. Let's get going here.
I love that. Dimitri, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me. I appreciate it. I appreciate your film and your insight.
Thank you so much, Manny. I appreciate it too.